What's up, Wise Take Nation? It's your boy Tommy SB. We're back at it again. Sorry about the delay. The newborn and just trying to take care of the other kids. It's crazy on these weekends, but especially during the middle of the week. But I'm going to go through this for you guys this week. We got Kansas for the Superstart Batteries 400, 267 laps. That means about 200 and a quarter Dominator points this week. So you're definitely going to be looking to get probably somewhere between 1 and 3 Dominators. You go a bunch of different ways. We've seen some drivers lead 140, 150 laps here. And then, the place differential guys become a lot more important, whereas you've also seen it where it's been, 2-3 guys, 50, 60 laps apiece. Maybe usually somebody around the 100 mark each race, as you can see. So you're going to be paying up for some of these expensive guys. How many of them is going to be the big question. Can you fit in 2 and then rely enough on the, some kind of place differential, cheaper chalk that we've got down there at the bottom this week? Or are you going to try to go a little bit more balanced and try to say, okay, I'm going to take maybe one of these guys and, try to find some more of the value in the middle with these either place differential guys or some maybe low-owned Dominators. So a couple different interesting ways to play. So, if you're looking at other tracks you want to comp it with, usually Chicagoland and Kentucky are tracks that, favor well to this track. 1.5 mile, kind of a D-shaped oval like we saw last week. The big difference here is progressive banking in the corners. So, it does open it up a little bit. You'll probably see a lot more passing than we've seen in the last few races. So it makes it more interesting, like I said, with these place differential guys. So, like I said, a couple of different ways you can play. Probably going to get a competition caution around lap 20. Then you're going to look at, the first stage. Who's going to lead the first stage? You're going to see a lot of people leaning towards Kevin Harvick. He's the most expensive guy this week. So, we'll start diving into that. As far as we got the driver-by-driver breakdown, if you guys got questions, keep throwing them up in the chat. I'm going to get through it with you guys as well. And then, give us the like button, give us that subscribe button. It does help us out a lot, man. And I'll do my best to get here on time next time. So, we're going to start off with Kevin Harvick up at the top. Probably the most chalk piece you're going to see this week because everybody expects this guy. He's been lightning fast to just go out and lead the whole first stage of this race without even batting his eyelashes. So, he's going to be pretty heavily owned this week. As we've seen in races past, Harvick has led a lot here, finished 9th, but back in this same race back in 2018, he had a win. And then again, somebody that consistently has been leading laps. Didn't really lead any last year in the fall race, but led the 104 and got you there last year. So I see Kevin Harvick being pretty popular this week. Chase Elliott, you like the place differential. You like the place differential upside. You see there starting 11th. Has been one of the fastest drivers all season, and kind of fallen off a little bit lately. Nothing super crazy, but if he was starting a little bit closer to the front, I could see you maybe potentially limiting your ownership a little bit with that. But I still think he's another phenomenal play. You expect Chase Elliott to be somebody that finishes inside the top 5, so that's what you're hoping for there. And some Dominator points sprinkled in, and the $500 savings under Kevin Harvick with the place differential upside is nice as well. Then we roll into Martin Truex at 10-6. Truex is starting 5th this week. My big thing is I absolutely love Martin Truex during night races. So, with this race being a night race going into the evening, I could see Truex being somebody that could be dominant. I definitely don't think he's going to be as highly owned as people like Harvick and Elliott just because you don't get the place differential upside or the almost automatic Dominator for that. So, but Truex, again, another guy you could play up here just because I think, like I said, Kevin Harvick's going to garner so much of the ownership. Then you roll into Denny Hamlin at 10-2, starting 10th. It's not one of his best tracks, but, in past races, he's led a ton of laps. I think it was 150-something, last year in the fall race. So, you get a performance like that. Even though, and then went out and won the race. So you get something like that, he's going to be the Dominator that you're getting at maybe 25%. That's going to be a better play than Harvick potentially if you think Harvick's going to fall back, which he's done before. And then so now that wraps up the 10K. Like I said, Harvick probably going to be the highest owned up here. Chase Elliott, probably almost in order. What they are in the 10K range as far as ownership. And we roll, like I said, into the 9Ks. You've got Ryan Blaney starting fourth. You like that, so close to the front. You're getting him under 10K. So the price savings, you like that as well. And you got some potential dominator. Even at 9,900, he goes out and is that second dominator that goes out and gets you, 50 or 80 laps like he's done before. That makes him an awesome second dominator to have with somebody like, Kevin Harvick or any of those guys in the 10K range. Where if you're going to play a little top heavy, like I said, there is some clear cut cheap value at the bottom that you might want to get a piece of, which could potentially, like I said, make it so you can do that. But, like I said, Blaney, you're going to need some dominator points in him to finish around where he's starting. So I can see him getting there for sure. I think he's going to be pretty popular just based on how good he's been recently. And then you get to, the elephant in the room with Kyle Busch at 9,700. If this was Kyle Busch of 2019, you'd be playing the crap out of him at that price and starting that close to the front. But another guy, like he said, he's been vocal that he wishes he had practice to be able to be more prepared for these races. And it's been kind of nipping him in the butt. I mean, we're almost 2/3 of the way through the season. He doesn't have a win yet. He's still in the playoffs on points, but, you like to see Kyle Busch kind of cement that like he has pretty much every other season. So, like I said, you do like the place differential upside starting 8th. If you're doing mass entry, you're going to get some, decent exposure to Kyle Busch. It's just which way are you going to lean? If you are leaning that this is going to be typical Kyle Busch, you're going to go under the field. You might have to get some exposure in a few lineups in case he does go out and do it for you. But, you don't go there. If you think this is his redemption race and he's going to come and he's going to turn around the race for you and be one of those guys that can lead some laps and get you solid finishes, like I said, average finish is 7.9 over the last 10. Plenty of top 10s, plenty of, pretty much everything except for the 30th he got you in this race last year. He would be potentially getting you there because he probably got you some dominator points as well. In a couple of those, he got you the 59 and 112 in those 2017 races, or even 60 at his price. I mean, that's pretty much all you're asking out of him at this point because he still hasn't been priced up because of his recent form. And then you've got Keselowski, Logano, Penske teammates. You like Keselowski's place differential upside starting 7th. He's somebody that could, go out and win the race. Not going to be super, super high owned, probably in that 20-ish range. He won the May race here last year and won it on strategy. That's what this race kind of plays out. Another thing that they've been talking about, too, is the fact that this is the same tire that they brought out for the last 2 races. And you've seen that there hasn't been really any tire issues. Nobody's really blowing tires. So, and the wear on those right side tires, which is usually the most volatile on these tracks, is not super, super bad. So these guys can run them a lot longer. So, that's where the strategy is going to kind of flip, if against what we would have seen in the 1.5s. NASCAR, I'm thinking, with this package is kind of getting it down to what they think is good for, competition. I mean, the fact that you had Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick go 1-2 for RCR last week just proves that it was a big strategy game for them. The Reddick took no tires and Ty took 2, or Austin took 2. Got out in front of the field and was able to hold them off for that, that green white checkered at the end. So, that's what you're hoping for out of pretty much any of the Penske guys. Have you seen that, in years past? That's what this team is good at. So, you're going to get these guys at lower ownership. I think people are probably going to lean more towards Keselowski just because of the place differential upside. But Logano, there's a slim chance that he gets around Harvick at the start of this race and leads 30, 40 laps. That's what Logano's going to have to do to get you there. And, you're getting Harvick at probably somewhere north of 40. You're probably going to get Logano somewhere south of 20. So that's interesting, because it's an easy narrative to play out. And then the next 2 guys, Eric Jones and Jimmy Johnson, both those guys are kind of in the same boat. As far as what you're going to need out of them. These are your kind of steadfast, you're hoping for 10 spot place differential and a top 10-ish finish out of these 2 guys. I think Jones will be more popular just based on kind of recent form between the two. Erik Jones has been a fairly solid car. You saw last year, went out, started sixth, finished third. Starting that deep in the field, and you can get me back to where you started last year. You're going to absolutely crush for me. And we've seen Erik Jones's finishes. In the last 4 races, hasn't finished outside of the top 10, so outside of the top 7 even. And I don't believe, we had just a couple laps. We're going to need a lot more than that if he was going to dominate, but with the place differential, you don't even need it. Like I said, I don't expect him to get out and dominate this race at all, but him picking you up 10 to 12 to 15 spots, that's going to be enough. And it's going to be the same thing with Jimmy. Jimmy's just a little bit more of a dart throw compared to Erik Jones, just like I said, based on recent form. So, he's somebody I would like to get some exposure to just because I don't think as many people are going to play him. So I like the ownership game with the Jimmie Johnson card. So, last week, the last few races, he's been a, potentially top 10 car and just keeps getting into issues, running into people when he's leading a stage and then, a back marker. He's got an average finish of 12.8 on the mile and a half tracks this season, though. So, starting 20th, you go out and get me a 10th, 12th. You're almost there. Need a little bit more, but, you like there's a decent floor there. I could expect if Jimmie Johnson can keep himself out of trouble and not hit anything or hit anybody, a top 10 finish shouldn't be too horribly difficult, just based on the way Hendrick is playing. Hendrick is the team has been running. So that gets us out of the 9K range, and I kind of slipped in there with Jimmie Johnson at 8,900. As you start rolling into these guys down here, what you're looking for, from these guys is your lower ownerships. I think Almirola is going to garnish some ownership starting third. Just because, you're paying 11.5 for Harvick, or you're paying 10.6 for Truex or 9.9 for Blaney, and you could come down here and you could steal Almirola for $8,700. I see him being fairly popular in that mid range, because even if you go really top heavy, you get down into your even Custers, Austin Dillon potentially, even McDowell, LaJoy. Even some Priest down here for these prices does help you kind of build some of these middle of the road guys. So, you could try to go uber top heavy, go 3 guys, in the 8,500 and up range, and then kind of rely on these $5,000, $6,000, hopeful place differential plays that are pretty solid, and just hope that gets there. I think that's where people are going to lean more towards cash. You're either going to go one really expensive guy, and then try to kind of blend out like, Harvick, Erik Jones, being your most expensive, but then starting getting into like your Tyler Reddicks, Christopher Bells, things like that to come out and save you some money. So, like I said, there's a bunch of different ways you can play this week. Like I said, nothing's really out of the question. Like I said, NASCAR's getting there with this package. So, the closer and closer they get the competition, the more it just throws it back into the crew chief's hands and trying to win the race in the win the race on a strategy call. So, like I said, Almirola going to be fairly popular just because he's so cheap. You got Alex Bowman starting 6th. Bowman and Byron, it's the same thing we've been saying every other week. It's like one of the two of them might do good. One of the two of them might just completely screw you. So you get them at lower ownership. So Bowman starting 6th at $8,500. You're probably going to need, for him, it's either going to be the fact that he gets out in the front on strategy and leads 30, 40, 50 laps and finishes inside the top 10 at $8,300, or, somehow gets a late race run and ends up winning this race on strategy, starting 6th at $8,500. Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, both of those guys are going to be fairly popular. Kind of these are your solid place differential, kind of go-tos. Tyler Reddick starting 23rd. He's been really good on these mile and a halves. You're hoping for the place differential. If he gets you inside of the top 15, he's not going to kill you. Inside the top 10 is what I think he's going to need to be somebody that's going to be optimal, but he's a pretty, you're looking at a solid floor. You're hoping for 10 spots out of either of these guys. A top 10, top 10s aren't out of the question for them. Just like I said, it's been more strategy, and these guys can move through the field, so I can see playing both of those. Kurt Busch, starting ninth, in this 8K range, definitely probably going to be the lowest owned of these guys, which every week that's what makes Kurt Busch interesting. You're either going to get him somehow before he got into the top 12 in points, you would have got him starting somewhere like 22nd, 23rd. You were hoping for place differential. Now he's inside the top 12 in points. He's going to be inside the top 12 each week. Starting ninth, he's sneaky. Like I said, it could be a little bit of a strategy game, and they are able to, maybe potentially stay out on a stage or something and get the right side of a caution. Say, for instance, this competition caution comes down, takes 2 tires, somehow gets to the front. I mean, that's not completely out of the question. William Byron, again, starting 15th. You like the place differential upside. If he doesn't crash into the wall, he's going to get you hopefully a top 10, which should potentially pay off. Started 3rd last year, finished 20th. Hasn't been the greatest with this track, but like I said, he's not absolutely horrible. You're getting Byron at probably the same type of ownership you're going to see Kurt Busch, which makes it sneaky. Then, kind of the same thing for MDB. I think he's going to be a little more popular than these guys, but kind of the same thing. MDB is either going to go out and win this race from 12th on some type of strategy, or, again, gets out and leads you 10, 15 laps and finishes inside the top 10, top 12 where he started. That's what he's going to need to be optimal. Or even if he goes out and leads you a few laps and finishes top 15, it's not bad. And then Clint Bowyer, 7,500, starting 19th. Clint Bowyer, I think, is going to be, I see his ownership being, solid. You're looking at 19th. If you would have got him any further back, he would have been more chalk. If you would have got him a couple spots further forward, he would have been less interesting. But at 19th, I see him being fairly popular. He's got solid finishes. Bowyer, back-to-back top 10s, and been consistently inside of the top 20 over the last 5 races. So, he's, again, somebody that I think people are going to lean on this week, just based on pricing as well. And then you roll into Cole Custer, $200 savings, starting 5 spots further back. It's what do you want to play here? I think, Custer and Bowyer are kind of interchangeable. You're taking Bowyer at the potential top 10 upside. You're taking Cole Custer at the potential top 12, top 13 upside. So, you got a couple of free spots. So, I could see you leaning either way on your builds with these guys at the low 7K range. Austin Dillon, last week's winner, starting 16th. Any deeper in the field, he would have been even more popular. I think people look at the way the team's been. Like I said, they've really kind of ironed this out. You can't count Austin Dillon out, somebody that, as long as he can keep the car out of the wall, could potentially get you a solid finish. So you like the 16th place starting spot for that as well. And then Ricky Stenhouse, last guy in the 7K range, starting 25th. You like him being that deep in the field. I see him being these last 4, the interchangeable pieces. How many of those 4, could you potentially take if they're probably 15, 10 to 15, 10 to 20% ownership, and get the right piece of one of these guys? Because I think one of these guys has a pretty solid chance of being on the optimal lineup. So like I said, fire up these questions, guys. I see we got a couple coming in. Keep them firing up. And like I said, we'll get through. So we'll get down into the 6K range. This is where, like I said, there is some pretty safe pieces down, under 7K. Kenseth, I don't believe, is one of those safe pieces. Kenseth, I think, is going to be one of those lower owned place, probably somebody, sub 10%. Just because he's also, just like Kyle Busch, been vocal that he just doesn't like the fact that he doesn't have practice. And being rusty, coming back, never having raced this type of package and trying to get used to it. Kind of these tracks, are a little bit comparable, to what they've been seeing. So, has he got the 1.5 mile kind of traditional D-shaped oval in his system to the point where he can run well? I think you're going to get him at lower ownership. So, you're building a lot of teams. You're going to definitely get some exposure, but he's not somewhere you're going to definitely go in cash. And tournaments, I can see you taking a stab at him, but he's not going to be somebody that you're going to go crazy on. And then, like I said, especially with the fact that you've got John Hunter Nemechek $100 cheaper, starting 30th. He's never raced here, but you're hoping for like a top 15 or something out of that. He's in decent equipment. He's been kind of really inconsistent over the last few races and has not really been getting you there. We'll scroll down. So, like I said, you love the place differential potential. Started 28th, finished 22nd, got you 30 fantasy points. In the open, he was good. You're looking at like 30s. What you really want on a John Hunter Nemechek is one of these, deeper field presentations where you started outside of the top 20 and finished well. But like you said, we've seen the downside as well. So, like I said, he's going to be somebody that's going to garner some ownership just because he's cheap. But he's somebody that you're going to have to, like I said, take the stand on. Are you going to go over the field because you think he's going to be able to do it this week, or are you going to potentially fade him at 25% projected ownership just because you think this is the race he doesn't do it? Then we roll into Ryan Newman, starting 18th. You like the fact that he's super cheap, but even at $6,600, all we're asking for out of Ryan Newman is like a top 10. And he has the upside for that as long as he can keep out of the issues. He has wrecked here before. Last year started 19th, finished 23rd. The year before that started 15th, and as you can see, finished somewhere in the 30s. He's another kind of proverbial dart throw. He's probably one of your less than 15% owned guys that you might want to try to take a piece at, because you do like that place differential where it's out of a strategy, finishes inside the top 10, he's going to get you there. Anything more than that's just gravy, and at low ownership, that's huge. Then you get Ty Dillon starting 36th. You like how deep he is in the field. I'll play Ty Dillon if he's that absolutely deep in the field every week. Started 36th, finished 28th. You're going to need more than that. But again, he's one of those really kind of chalky pieces that everybody's looking at $6,500, and he's the kind of the decision you're going to have to make. Are you going to go way under or way over the field expecting him to wreck, or are you expecting him to somehow get on the right side of strategy and get you inside the top 20 or so and absolutely smash for you? Even the top 25, probably 10 spots, but even at 6,500, I think I would like him to be inside of the teens probably, to really be what I'm looking for. And, he hasn't done that before. So, like I said, people are going to look at it and they're going to take it. There's going to be some ownership. So you got to take a stand on that. Then you roll into Bubba Wallace. You get Bubba at $6,300, starting 17th. Again, I don't think he's going to be super popular. He's been fairly decent. Over the last few races, average, I think, 18.8. On these 1.5 miles, you need, like I said, probably close to a top 10 to pay off. If he finishes where he started, he's not going to kill you. But, like I said, I don't think his ownership is going to be anything crazy, and that makes him more interesting every week. And then I think their other reason is because you got McDowell and Suarez wrapping out the 6K. You got McDowell starting 27th. Top 20 is okay, if he can do it. And McDowell's been decent. He's not anybody that's been kind of knocking your socks off. 48 would absolutely smash. A 35, it's the last 2 races, so 3 out of the last 4. He's gotten there. So this is kind of what we like. We like seeing McDowell deep in the field. Trying to just get you only really a few spots to not kill you, and then anything more than like 10 spots or so, even at his price, would crush for you. So Daniel Suarez, it's just what you get with Suarez. Last week, I think he finished 23rd. It was pretty optimal last week, but that was because there was a lot of wrecks last week. A lot of variance. That kind of restart at the end was weird. And that's kind of where I think he got there. If you think he could do that, or somehow that strategy is going to play out again, then, he's not going to be
popular by any means, probably 10 to 15% owned, and that's one of those guys that at this price you can make a really big stand down in tournaments. Not huge, but going 20, 25%. Hoping for the crashes. If you think it's going to play out kind of like last week, not a ton of crashes here because there's a lot of grooves. There's not really any loose spots until you get way, way, way close to the wall. So, again, you can take a stand there. Chris Buescher is a little bit interesting, starting 13th, mostly because of his ownership. He can finish around here at $5,900. You're crushing. And I think that's what you're going to need out of him. I think you're going to probably get Buescher sub 10%. So, again, if you're doing, single entries and you're like, all right, I'm taking the stand on one or two of these low-owned guys, and that's it. That's what I'm doing on my single entry. I could see you going down here into like Buescher. And then again, Priest right underneath him is just super cheap at $5,800, starting 35th. Priest is like Ricky Stenhouse. Like, if he finishes the race and he doesn't put it in the wall, he should be top 20-ish. We've seen a 13th out of him. We've gotten a couple of zeros and some crap, but we got a 30th here and he's finished 20th. Something like that's what you're going to need, to get you there, $5,800. And like I said, if he goes out and gets you, a top 25, he's not killing you. Starting that deep in the field. So that's, again, these are going to be your guys that he's a bigger piece of the chalk down here than everybody else. And then as we roll through Priest, you roll into LaJoie, which is somebody you can pivot off of Priest with if you think Priest is going to have a typical Priest day that he's had recently, or do you think this is a race that Priest is going to take it? So, LaJoie, you're getting $100 savings and you're only losing 4 spots. So, I could see Corey LaJoie going out and finishing top, 18, top 15 potentially at starting 31st. So, those two guys, like I said, it's easy enough to pivot off of them. You're getting Priest at probably 30, 40% ownership, and you're getting LaJoie at somewhere between 20 and 30. So what are you going to do, with that? After you get past those guys, LaJoie and Priest, I don't really think you need to go down here. If you were going to go down here into the bargain basement, it's because you love what you've got up top. But these guys are just going to roll around the track. As we've seen, Timmy Hill started 39, finished 39. He got you nothing. I mean, come on. You're going to need, you got you 6 fantasy points. I'm sorry. That's not going to cut it. But if you think there's going to be some wrecks and you really like what you picked out of your other 4 or your other 5 on DraftKings, okay. If that's all you got left, then okay. I could see you taking a stab. I'd probably, McLeod and Hill. I mean, you get them almost in the back, but they're just really, really crappy cars. JJ Ailey and Brendan Poole are just starting too close to the front. So, I mean, if you had to, it's you get Reed Sorensen at starting 39th at 5,500, but if you had to go with one of these other 4 guys or 5 guys down here, it's like I hate it. Balicki and Smithley, they're in the exact same boat. Smithley way too close to the front, and Balicki starting 23rd. You like the hopeful, 3-4 wrecks or something like that, and he somehow finishes 25th. So that's what you would need to get out of these guys. Yeah, we got our my counterpart Clint. Ryan Priest is the GOAT. Yeah, Ryan Priest is popular this week, and I could see Priest being somebody that a lot of people go to in cash, and just being off of Priest and Priest hitting the wall and finishing somewhere deep in the 30s is going to be detrimental to probably half, if not more, of the field. So. I can see you going there in both UCAT, FanDuel cash plays. I'll get into FanDuel here right in a minute. Hop over there. And then you're saying Blaney or Truex. I think Blaney is going to be more popular on both. Since you play, I could see you going to either one of those guys in cash. And potentially, let me see what we got here. I think Blaney's price is ridiculous. Yeah, Blaney's price is $11K. I mean, if you're building a team of Blaney and Truex, like if you want to stay off the Kevin Harvick chalk, at 14K. That leaves you a lot of room. You could grab both of those guys, probably roll down. If you really wanted to get froggy, you could go all the way down here into, John Hunter Nemechek starting 30th if you think he can go out there and get you 15th. Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, both very interesting at that price. I'd probably lean towards McDowell. That puts you back at 10-4 for your other two. It's pretty easy to build. You could take, even if you weren't even a Tyler Reddick, you could take anybody else you wanted. You could get pretty heavy. Because you're looking for the rest of these guys. You're looking for Michael McDowell to get your top 15. You're looking at Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex to either dominate enough and either win this race or be in the top 5, top 3 potential upside. And then even if you wanted to go even with Almirola, it still leaves me with 10K, and you could take some pretty solid place differential upside with Erik Jones. Something like that I could see being pretty popular just because you're getting so much value with McDowell. So I can see people leaning that direction, even playing, like I said, both of them together for sure. All right. Anybody else got some questions? Yeah, Clint, counterpart, man, 45% Priest. That's, like I said, I don't know, man. I like the fact that he's going to be so popular in like cash, and potentially just being off of him and him having a horrible day is going to be so, pivotal. Even on FanDuel, if you're going to play Priest, what's Priest's price on FanDuel? Priest at $4,500. Like, if you think Priest is doing that, means I could take everybody at the top if I wanted to. You wanted to go Priest and Priest and McDowell. You could take the 4 most. I think you could take all 4 of the most expensive next. Yeah, pretty much take the next 4. If you wanted to take all 3. Harvick, Elliott, and still leave me with 12-6. I could still go grab a Kyle Busch, a Keselowski, Logano, or Blaney. I still got money left on the table. So it's going to be pretty easy to build, I think, on FanDuel, unless you think it's going to be a 4. I mean, you're probably going to need 4 out of the, either at least 15 to 20 spots if you're taking somebody deep in the field, or all 5 of your drivers in the top 10 potentially to take down tournaments, top 15. Or it depends if somebody dominates the crap out of this race. If Harvick goes out and leads 130, 140 laps, you're going to need to have a piece of him as well too. So, like I said, guys, fire up the questions. Tournaments this week are much smaller than they've been. Just because we got regular sports coming back as well. MLB, Wise Take covering the MLB, covering the NBA. We've always crushed it in those sports. We've always crushed in the big sports. We've been doing really, really well with NASCAR. Our Counter-Strike is killing it. Our LOL's been great. So, come check us out at wisetake.com. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm always here. If you're a member, you can hit us up in the Slack. We got a bunch of different options for you. We always provide some, cool content. The shows are great. With the NASCAR package, you get the cheat sheets, you get the projections model, you get everything. You get to access the show, you get access to the Slack. You can hit me up before the race. We got a little over 2 hours to build your lineups here. It's about 5:30. We're wrapping up. Like I said, a bunch of different ways that you can play this week. It's going to be how much are you going to spend. If we're talking DraftKings, you're probably leaning towards Kevin Harvick being a big piece, and you can even grab Blaney. And then you're going to try to really rely on these, cheaper guys that are starting deep in the field. Ryan Preece, even Michael McDowell. That gives you back to $8,000 that you can really play with the other two. There's a lot of these guys kind of in this range that you like. Clint Bowyer starting 19th. It's losing 9 to 100. You roll back up here, you could take some easy place differential on Erik Jones or Jimmy Johnson, or some cheap dominator potential out of Aric Almirola. So, like I said, I don't think it's going to be hard to build your teams this week. I'm going to play my mass entry like I normally do, but I'm going to also build a bunch of hand-built teams, I think, this week because, like I said, finding that right balance between these kind of mid-range guys and just kind of really planning how you think this race is going to play out. With some of these strategy calling crew chiefs being a lot of the difference makers over the last few races. So, even in smaller entry stuff, it's going to be getting that right 1 to 2 pieces, I think, that are going to be fairly low owned, sub 20%, stacked with the chalk that you're looking at each week is what it's going to take to get you there. So good luck, guys. Hit me up on Twitter at kartracing_22, or you can hit us up at WiseTake at the @WiseTake sign as well on Twitter. So good luck, guys, and let's smash.